morning. Good morning. Oh man, it's December. There's a little bit of snow. In December, which would you rather?
I love this game.
Radio music or Christmas carols?
There's Christmas music. However,
there's Christmas music and there's Christmas carols.
Do you know that we were just listening to Christmas music?
I felt it was a Christmas carol.
Yes, that one.
What was the name of that song?
That was a redone Christmas carol. Oh, Holy Night.
Oh, Holy Night. Which would you rather in December? Snow or sand?
No. Like for a week of sand? Snow and then a week of sand?
I would rather have snow.
Yeah. It's what I know.
Heat or cold?
I'm like a middle of the road kind of person.
Mountains or oceans?
That's such a hard one.
That is a hard one. Very different.
But I do love to be by water.
I love to be by the mountains.
I love the mountains too, but I love to be by water.
Very good. I think some people are contemplating. Do you think people are taking winter vacations this year? Or is that like on the back burner?
Not very many. They've made exceptions if like you have immediate family or...
so like no one's going to like Cuba or Jamaica?
No, you can. I think you can, and there's like rules. I think if they test you, some places it's better than others. Like my friend was telling me that Jamaica, if they test you and you're positive, they just put you on the quarantine resort.
The corn resort.
Well, that sounds lovely, except there's potentially really sick people. So
yeah, that could end bad.
And then you have to quarantine when you come back.
I have friends that own properties elsewhere, and they're like, Canada's over. They leave.
We're not. Not us. We're going to be here.
How about, do you prefer staycation or destination? You're a destination. I like both. I like both because one is I find easier than the other and less planning. No, I like staycation.
You like staycation. Don't pretend that you like to go away because you don't. Once you get there, you're okay. But getting you there is like dragging a screaming toddler.
Or, a dog that doesn't want to go to the vet.
And it doesn't even matter how far we're going. I can book an Airbnb.
We should do a little trip to Montreal. Are we allowed to do that even?
We're not. We an Airbnb an hour away. I have to drag you, kicking and screaming.
It's an hour and a half away.
I like my bed.
I do like my bed.
And then we get there and you're like, we should have stayed 4 nights.
I know. Change, eh? I'm still growing.
I'm
still growing in my recovery.
So last year, pre-COVID, I learned to just ignore you. Ignore the screaming toddler. That's excellent parenting advice. I know how much you love parenting advice. Ignore the screaming toddler.
One. Man.
Is really good parenting advice. However,
do you always ignore the screaming?
Don't
I agree
ignore
with
the quiet toddler. When the toddler is really quiet, he's probably
your toddler could be outside, hanging in the hood.
December 2nd.
December 2nd.
Not funny because that's happened to people in a tragic way.
Imagine if that can happen to a grown adult. Imagine a 12-year-old babysitting. Man.
Again.
Are we on December 2nd?
To any of my brothers who may watch this, I'm sorry.
December 2nd, putting our life on hold.
Is that what you typed in there?
I think so. I hope so.
We cannot afford to put our needs on hold, waiting for another person to fulfill us, making our life better, or come around and be who and what we want that person to be. That will create resentment, hostility, and unhealthy dependency and a with later on. If we have decided we want a particular relationship or want to wait about making a decision in a particular relationship, then we must go on with our life in the interim. That can be hard. It can feel natural to put our life on hold. That is when we get caught up in the codependent beliefs. That person can make me happy. I need that particular person to do a particular thing in order to be happy. That's a circumstance that can hook our low self-esteem, our self-doubt, and our tendency to neglect ourselves. We can get into this situation in a number of ways. We can do this waiting for a letter, waiting for a job, waiting for a person, waiting for an event, waiting for COVID to end. We do not have to put our life on hold. There will be repercussions from doing this. Go on with your life and take life one day at a time. What is something I could be doing now to take care of myself, make myself feel better, get my needs met in an appropriate, healthy way? How can I own my power to take care of myself despite what the other person is or isn't doing? What will happen if I break the system and begin taking care of myself? Sometimes we get the answer we want immediately. Sometimes we wait for a while. Sometimes things don't work out exactly the way we hoped, but they always work out for good and often better than we expected. And in the meantime, we have manifested love for ourselves by living our own life and taking the control away from others. That always comes back to us tenfold, because when we actually manifest love for ourselves, we give our higher power, other people, and the universe permission to send us the love we want and need. Stopping living our life to make a thing happen doesn't work. All it does is make us miserable because we have stopped living our life. Today. Prayer for today. I will force myself, if necessary, to live my own life. I will act in my own best interest in a way that reflects self-love. If I have given power or control of my life to someone other than myself, and someone besides a power greater than myself, I will take it back. I will begin acting in my own best interests, even if it feels awkward to do that.
Wow, that's a heavy reading for midweek. That brought up a lot of stuff.
What did it bring up for you?
Who do you think she would be talking to? Like,
codependence.
You think she is? No, I know the whole book, but who do you think that is geared towards? The codependent in the relationship?
Yeah.
Or for everybody?
The codependent in the relationship.
More for the codependent.
The whole book is written for
I know, but it applies to both a lot.
Yeah,
there's a lot of conceptual stuff that is...
it's just not for you.
This one seems
this book
very...
just isn't about you.
No, I know. This one seems very motivated towards the person in a codependent relationship, the codependent
But it
one.
could be a parent-child. It could be like a love relationship, a dating relationship, a marriage relationship.
It just brought up our relationship, and I'm doing this. And I kind of have my own independence. I have my own bank account. I have my own car. I have my own everything so that I can live this addictive life. And then you're caught up paying the bills, taking care of the damage, lying to my parents, doing all that stuff, and kind of having your hopes and dreams and everything that you thought valuable on hold. So that's kind of what I'm hearing on this. So that whole reading is super heavy for somebody to be encouraged to not do that. Stop paying the bills. Stop enabling. Stop condoning. Stop. That's what I'm hearing.
People love to tell you what to do when you're in a relationship, like especially if you tell your friends, like, oh my goodness, oh my husband, my boyfriend, blah blah blah. There's lots of people that are like, oh, get out of there, like leave him. It's not that easy. Otherwise, the person would have done it already. And so for me, I think that I like how she says we can go on with our life in the interim. We don't actually have to make a decision about the relationship. So for me,
so you're separating.
I feel
your
like
life. She's separating your life from the relationship.
Yeah. So like,
that's a detachment.
I think she's trying to encourage people, and I mean, live your life. Like live your life. Live a life. Stop putting your life completely on hold. But you don't actually have to make a decision about the relationship. And so, there's a few things a few ways that can look like. And then she goes into like, so actually, you're waiting for like an event to happen. You're waiting for a job. You're waiting for a letter. Did you like read into this? Are you waiting for a letter from jail? You're waiting for a job. You're waiting for a purse. Anyway. So I think that that she doesn't tell us what to do, but that if we go to our higher power and say like, wow, this really isn't like working for me anymore and I need to do something differently, then pieces start to fall into place. Mm-hmm. It's not helpful when other people tell you like what you have to. Like,
yeah. Do you think she's talking to somebody, the codependent in a relationship that's in recovery, or is she giving?
No, I think this sounds like it's written to someone who's starting, to wanting to get out of unhealthy patterns or what, like, sometimes I picture myself picking, like, because I don't know if I had this book, but I had books like this at the beginning. So I went to meetings and I was so desperate and I was looking for answers and they're like, here, read this book. And so sometimes I feel like it's a person who's searching, mm-hmm. who's started to not be okay with the way that life is.
So then the big thing is what I'm hearing is it doesn't matter if your addict is addicting, you don't have to. And you can get in recovery. You can start living life. You can start not having your everything on pause, and the healthier you get, maybe it'll help him, but maybe it'll send him packing, which maybe that needs to happen.
And I think, there's so many baby steps, but like
the best thing you did in our relationship was leave.
Oh, but there was so much that happened leading up to that. So much that happened. Like
my anxiety is starting to climb up into here.
The best thing I did was leave, which I never thought I'd hear that come out of your mouth. But like, remember I used to come out to the bar with you, trying to get you to come home? Mm-hmm. That was crazy. If I go with
you were addicting with me.
If I go with him, it would be more likely that I can convince him to come home. Mm. Oh my gosh. Well, now I'm like tired and miserable, and
alcohol can convince me a lot greater than you ever
and then I wind up leaving by myself anyway. Or you'd come home and then you'd leave again. Oh my goodness, that made me so angry.
It was like a boomerang back to the
angry.
Bar. So
the bars were closed anyway.
The codependent can't convince the addict. So this is saying for the codependent, get into recovery, get into.
So what happened? I went to meetings. I started going to like Al-Anon and Nar-Anon. Mm-hmm. Nar-Anon was more like, it felt like in that group, it was more parents of children that were really having a hard time. And then my Al-Anon group that I went to was like a lot of older ladies, and I wasn't even 30. And I would listen to these older ladies basically talk about, several of them, not all of them, but the ones that I paid attention to were talking about how they basically like lived this careful dance around the alcoholic in their life. And I remember thinking like, no, not going to be 60, tiptoeing around, this person in my living room. And then I think I just started to imagine what could be different. And then I, probably started, definitely started like reading books like this. And then I turned 30 and I panicked.
Well, I think that nobody really accidentally has money problems. Nobody accidentally has an addiction. Nobody accidentally gets into these relationships. Mm-hmm. So really understanding why you're in them, getting into recovery, looking at what the problem is, and then applying the 12-step solution. Mm-hmm. Amen. In the name of Jesus.
I said I turned 30 and I panicked, but that's not even true. Like at the end before I moved, like it's like things just settled into place and decisions just like settled.
I think you were really being led by God.
I do.
Your heart was. I think God was like, you can't. You're stuck, and I'm going to help you. And that's what happened to me in my recovery. I was trying to get into treatment, but I kept getting these checks from ODSP or disability or whatever, and I would never make it in a clean P test. And then one day, the 1 week that I had my test, the usual check didn't show up. And then I went to the test and I got in, and the next day my mom called and said, oh, hey, the neighbor found some mail in their mailbox for you. And it's like God can do for us what we can't do for ourselves. And let's just leave on that note.
Yeah.
Hockey sticks in hands. Welcome to COVID life. Have a great afternoon. Anything? You have something?
No, I was just thinking about how applicable it is. It's a really good food for thought. I feel like my life is old right now. Just wondering. Anyway, it's fine. My life is on hold right now. It's
this might to be. Open up a whole conversation after this video. But
it's so much easier to talk about the past than to talk about the present.
Talking about the present. Yeah, and maybe we're going through this right now.
Just hit that button.
On the other end.
Just turn it off. If I knew how, I would. Make it stop.
Make it stop. All right. Have a